Hey guys, welcome back to the This Is Soul Skate Shop YouTube channel. I'm Ivo and today we're gonna do a review of the Roces Ego skates. We are here, of course, in the This Is Soul Skate Shop where you can find all the skates that you dream about. And the best way to try skates is to put them on your feet to know if they fit. So if you're in the Amsterdam neighborhood, come by and experience the shop for yourself. We of course have a web shop, thisissoul.com, and the product where I'm going to talk about, the Roces Ego, is of course available on our web shop with all the information that I'm going to tell you right now as well. In the product description we try to be as sufficient as possible, and this video is also of course included in all our product pages. So if you want to browse other products, every review that we have is also there available for you to check out. Also, of course, our YouTube channel has more reviews. We also do the lessons here, of course, in Amsterdam. We're next to the Vondelpark, so where you can skate. We have a Friday night skate every Friday. You can join us and go out and have fun. Right now, I'm going to talk about the Roces Ego. I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about it, what sets it apart from other models, or what doesn't set it apart, because actually it's the same as some other products as well, and run through the history of the brand Roces, and just tell you my honest opinion about it. It's the Roces brand, and Roces started in 1952. They started making hiking boots, and then ski boots, and then later ice skates. And in the 1980s, early 80s, I think it was like 82, 83, they started making skates for the rollerblade brand, because they already had an ice skate that was really good as a shell for an inline skate. But they didn't make it for their own Roces brand. They made it for rollerblade. And rollerblade got really big in the 80s, and then it got bought off by a different brand. And they actually moved production from the factory in Roces to another factory in the same neighborhood, but then just like a few kilometers away. And then Roces suddenly was with an empty factory, so they had this whole like production line set up for making inline skates, but no kind of like brand to set it on the market with. So they decided to make their own inline skates, and they hit the market in 1992 with the Roces inline skates. And that went really well, because in the 90s inline skating took off, and Roces, especially in Europe, Roces was really big, especially also in the Netherlands. Roces was really big. A lot of my friends in the 90s skated Roces. I skated Roces myself in the 90s, but in the late 90s, the market was so big that also other players got involved, and there were so many brands, and the market kind of like caught up on Roces. There was so much available that Roces was not so popular anymore. In the early 2000s, they realized that stuff was not going so good anymore, and they started to having collaboration with John Julio under the name Valo for their aggressive skates. And with that, Roces also kind of like lost their cool factor, because they didn't market their aggressive skates anymore for their own brand. And I think aggressive skating, at least in the 90s, it was kind of like the horse that carried the cart of the sport culturally. A lot of people skated in the 90s because they thought it was cool, and a big part of why they thought it was cool was because of aggressive skating. So if you kind of like lose that as a company, and you call that Valo now, then what's left of the company is just kind of like plain recreational skating. And Roces was never really good at that, I think, in marketing it at least. They're good at it in a way that Roces skates are pretty available, so you can find them in sporting goods. But these have not been the products that people really fell in love with. Nobody has like a Roces tattoo from 2008 because they love their product from 2008. They have it because they love the product from the 90s, right? So it was not their best period, and they made a lot of soft boots, which are also not the best skates. I have one of them here, and those soft boots are also not really good because they don't offer support. So I can move this, and the skate just flexes too much to the side. This is a hard boot skate, and it's a lot more solid, so that's good. And in the late zeros, I think they made their first hardboot skate, was the Metropolis. Then in 2015, they made another hardboot skate. That was the Roces X35. And the X35 I have somewhere here. It's over there. This is the X35. After their popular skates in the 90s, this was kind of like their first, like their own mold. This is something they designed themselves. Because the Metropolis, which I talked about earlier, there was also an open mold. So that's just where a factory actually designed something. You just buy it from the factory as it is. This is really, really cool because they designed it themselves, 2015. And then in 2018, John kind of like left Roces, and Valo was no longer a thing. So the aggressive skating part got taken back by Roces as a part of their own brand. And that kind of like made Roces cool again, because they started making aggressive skates again. So that's really one of the best things, actually, I think, for Roces to have happened, is that the separation of Valo, that Valo is no longer a thing anymore. Because Roces now is standing on its own 2 feet again. And so that's kind of a funny thing. And then in 2020, they released the Ego. Nice all-black look. It's an open mold again. So not like the X35, which I just talked about, something they designed themselves, but more like an off-the-shelf factory boot. So right now on the market, we have only this model, the Roces Ego with the 3x110 TIF, the invisible frame. The invisible frame is a concept made by Richie. Richie Eitzler is a pro skater, and he drew kind of like the lines of his wheels on his frames one time. And I think it was like 1 or 2 years later, Roces made this as a product. So it's 100% inspired by him. It's an interesting concept. It's funny. And then it has a 3x110. I'm not the biggest fan of 3x110 because I think it's really unstable. Like if I just press here at the back of the skate, it's really easy to push it and make it flip. But if you have like a longer wheelbase frame like this one, and you push, oh! Okay, the stable is not so stable. All right, let's do that again. If you press on the back here with the longer wheelbase, you feel that it's actually stable and that it doesn't tilt like that. So you want to be low to the ground and have a long wheelbase so that you don't fall. With this skate, it's really easy to fall. And they did make 4x80 once in the past, but we cannot buy it anymore. And I also don't know if it will come back. In general, the whole future of this skate is a little bit unsure. I don't know what their plans for it. It's definitely not their own product. Like for example, with this skate, you can see like this Italian flag here, right? And Roces is an Italian brand, and they designed this skate themselves. It looks exactly the same, so you wonder like why make 2 skates that are like look-wise 100% the same, and customers probably cannot really tell the difference so much. But then this one doesn't have an Italian flag, and so for me it also looks like as if they're a little bit less proud of this one. I don't know if this skate will be around in 5 years, or maybe it will be. Maybe they'll make like a bunch of colors and maybe like a few different frame configurations. I hope they come out with something like 4x90 wheel configuration. That would be great. But for now, this is the only one on the market that they offer. Let me tell you the differences between the X35 and the Ego, because that's what a lot of people, I think, are kind of like doubting between if you want to have like a Roces freestyle skate, hard boot, which one to buy of these ones. Now, definitely the first thing you'll notice is the price. This one is cheaper, and the X35 is more expensive. The biggest plus of the X35 is the better quality liner. The liner feels more solid, feels more high quality. Just the materials, the foam, feels a lot better. I actually think that the wheels are probably a little bit the same. The quality of the frame is a little bit the same. The quality of the plastic feels a little bit better from the X35. That is about it, probably. Then with the X35, it has a really weird design that you cannot really change the frame. You can change the frame, but if you take it off, there's a certain roundness to the boot. And this is also integrated in the frame, so the frame is also a little bit round. That means that you cannot put any other frame on this boot because it just will be too loose. And at least with the Ego skate, you can change frames. So that's a little bit of a plus for the Ego. Then you see also this skate on the table, and you might wonder why I have that one here, because it is actually a 4x80 boot configuration. And it's exactly the same boot. You can see the lines here at the toe. It's exactly the same line, so it's exactly the same boot, but it's from a different brand. And that's what I mean with that it's an open mold, is that you can just, kind of like as a brand, you can just go to a factory and buy it off the shelf and put your logos on it. This is the Trigger brand. So if you want to have the Ego, but with a different wheel configuration, which I would recommend because the 3x110 are very unstable. Especially beginners, they tend to buy cheap skates and they also need to have a lot of stability. So it's really weird to have a beginning skate with a 3-wheel setup. I think it's just better to get the 4-wheel setup so that you're low to the ground and more stable. A few more differences between the Trigger skate and the Roces skate is the liner feels a little bit different. It's a little bit different material. I don't know really which one is better. They have a slightly different buckles. This actually has a metal buckle, so that's better. And with the Trigger one, everything is removable with an Allen key or a Phillips screwdriver. So we've been talking about authenticity of the products, and Roces is really proud of their own products, and they try to make sure that other people cannot copy their products. That's why they put this little sticker on the insole. And on this sticker is a code, and then you can look up on their website, you can look up the code and verify kind of like the product to see if it's an authentic Roces product. It's not that Roces designed this skate and that Trigger made a copy. And that's kind of like what this sticker would imply, that this would be like an authentic Roces product. It is an authentic Roces product, but it's also something that other companies can also just put out. Powerslide has a sub-brand, it's called Playlife, and Playlife also made a boot with this skate. It's called the Playlife Legion. It's not on the market anymore, but it was some time ago. Let's talk about the fit of the skate. I would say that this is just a normal fit, so it will fit most people's feet. We never have any problems with it in the store if people try it. Most people think it's a comfortable skate, so that's nice. Same goes for the Trigger skate. There's something funny going on with the sizes. Obviously, like all skates, the sizes are bundled. So Roces advertises this as a single 41 and a single sized 42, as if they would be different skates and really different sizes. But in reality, the 41 and the 42 are actually exactly the same. It's dual sized. There's no reason to ever buy the 42 because it does fit 99% exactly like the 42, and after skating it for 1 month, I can guarantee you it will fit 100% like the size 42, because the liner, what's inside the skate, I'll show you what the liner is. This will move, it will become warm, it will become wet, and it will totally adjust to your foot. So this will expand to whatever is available for room on the inside of the shell. So the shell size is what actually matters, not per se the liner size. And there are a couple of shell sizes. There's a 37-38, 39-40, 41-42. And then here's what something interesting is going on. Roces has a 43-45 shell size bundled. Trigger has the size 43-44 bundled together. And Roces the 43-45, but they're the same shell size. The biggest size of this skate is the size 46. Trigger does have the size 46, and Roces goes up to 45, but this is a different shell size, of course. If you have a size 43 to 45, for sure I would not recommend this skate because the frame is so short that it's going to be really unstable for you. There you see how sizing is something that companies just kind of make up. And the best way to know if a skate will fit you is just to have it on your feet. So if you're able to come by our store and try it on, that's definitely the smartest thing that you can do. If you want to order them online, I would recommend you to take your normal shoe size or maybe one size up. If you like skates a little bit loose, I like my skates tight, of course. And do keep in mind that they will break in a lot. Like this liner, it will almost disappear. All the padding will be gone after you skate it for some time. Let's talk about this liner a little bit more. It has a neoprene tongue. This is kind of like one of those nice advanced features where like the front is a little bit more flexible, but also it has this slope here. Like the liner is supposed to be this long, but then in reality it's only this long. So I think that's a little bit of a bad design. It would be nicer if it would be a little bit more of a bulge right there. But anyway, this will shape to your foot, so don't worry too much about it. It has a handle here. This is a carry strap, and it's not a I'm gonna pull on it really hard strap, because if you pull on it really hard, it will break. And I've seen a lot of those skates where just one of the side is loose and you have this like thing flapping around. This is the insole that's in the liner. It's really weak. You can fold it like this. So this is not a good insole. It doesn't support your foot at all. If you want to know how to upgrade this and what is a good insole, I'll explain that at the end of the video. The next topic is the flex of the skate. So there's two parts. You have the forward flex, and the forward flex comes from the cuff. You see that here. There's like a rivet here, and then this hinges forward. I think the cuff, when I tried it on, it's a little bit low. It felt low on my ankle, but in general the cuff is the forward flex is just fine. Then the sideways flex of the boot itself is good because it's just a standard hard boot, so that's fine. Nothing to complain about the sideways flex. Then let's take a look at the bottom of the skate. You see that there's a plateau here and a plateau there, and they are a little bit at a different level. This is a standard mounting for the frame. It's called a 165mm mount, and this raised heel here is the natural position that a skate should be in. There's also a little shock absorber to increase that height a little bit more even. This is a shock absorber over here. It's funny to see that it has these rings inside. This makes it a very rigid, hard shock absorber, but that's perfect for power transfer. I think for a skate like this, you want kind of like have a shock absorber like this. A little bit of a cushion, but not too much, because otherwise you lose your energy. You can see, of course, that I took the frame off of the skate, and you can put any frame back on the skate. So if you really like the Roces brand and you want to get the Roces Ego, but you don't want to have the 4x110 because you think it's too unstable, then you can put on any frame that has the 165mm mount on it that you want. There's tons of configurations. You can get like a 5-wheel frame, really long with a rocker or a flat frame. You can get a 3-wheel frame that's really long for speed skating, or just like a 4x90 if you want to just have like a generic frame, or a 4x100 to cruise around a little bit. So there's tons of frame configurations to play with. So that's really nice. The plates in the bottom here are made from plastic. And if you get the high-end skate, so like a skate that's like 300 euros or something, like here the Twister, or here you can see the FR1, you can see here that it has a metal plate. See that? And if you bolt something on this metal plate, then it's metal on metal bolted on, and it's super solid. It cannot move. But if you bolt something on the plastic plate, the frame can still wiggle a little bit. So there's still this little movement because of the softness of the bottom. And That's also one reason why I think that big wheels like a 110 millimeter frame like this is not the ideal thing for a boot like that, because the leverage, the height is so high that this movement will be even more because of the height. The frame itself is nice, it's an extrusion CNC frame. Those are great frames, great power transfer. It's also kind of like standard, so it's fine. It has all these holes here, so that's cool, and an extra slot. That means that you can also put it on a 195 millimeter mount. So there's like all these different length, and you can play with it a little bit. Also like move it to the side and move it to the front a little bit if you want to readjust your balance. The bolts to bolt the frame on the boot are M6, so it's a standard bolt. It's not the best quality bolt. You can also upgrade those, of course. And the axles are standard race axles, so it's a single axle. It bolts in the frame itself, so you only need one Allen key. That's also just the standard way of doing it. And there's a brake in the box. You do need to mount the brake yourself because it's not attached, so that's going to be a little puzzle. Next topic is the cuff. There's a little bit of a protection here so that if you fall, that the buckle doesn't scratch. It's riveted on. That means that I also don't know if you can replace the cuff. I don't know if you should. There's no real reason to do it. The cuff has these flaps here, and these flaps can sometimes be a little bit annoying if you want to close the cuff really tight, that they kind of like sit over each other. But you can cut these flaps off. If you think it's annoying, you can cut it off a little bit. And also the buckle you can also cut off, because the buckle goes inside the cuff here. You can see that here. And if you have the skate on, you'll have a lot of pressure, and it's hard to put the buckle in as far as you might want to. So just take like a really good pair of scissors or like a knife or a saw, and you can just cut this off. The buckle is fine. It's a standard buckle mount, so it's SBM and has 3 holes, so it's an SBM3. Any SBM3 buckle on our website will fit on this skate, but it's riveted on, so that means you have to drill it loose. This buckle is not the best buckle. It's not a metal buckle. Metal buckles are a lot better. And also there's a little bit of a weak point in this buckle here. That means sometimes it will kind of like fold a little bit if you have a lot of pressure on it. So if you want to replace this buckle, we have a drilling service. So if you buy the skate, you can add it in the shopping cart to drill out these holes, and we'll do it for you. So you can actually buy the skate with a bolted buckle as well from our website. Then there's an ankle buckle as well. This is a great ankle buckle. It's a standard ankle buckle, like it's the same one is or the same type is on a lot of skates. You can crank it like this here in the middle, and then it has 2 buttons, and if you release it, it goes like one after the other. So you have to do like one left and right. So because if I do only this one, it stops, but then if I do the other one again, it continues. So let's do that again. I'll do this. And now this is inactive, but then the other is active, and then this one is active. So you can just set it loose one after the other, or 2 at the same time, and then it releases fully. So it's a little bit complicated buckle. I see a lot of people struggling with this in the store when they first try on the skates. See them like, oh, how to get this loose, but now you know. You can also take this ankle buckle off, and that's done just with the Phillips screwdriver. Funny how they did this with Phillips screwdriver, but they riveted this buckle on, and then also the slider here is also with the screwdriver. Well, nobody replaces the slider, and everybody wants to replace their buckle from time to time because it just breaks, right? I myself don't like ankle buckles, so I would take this off probably. And we have a special lacing technique on our YouTube. If you go to shorts, I think it's called this like special lacing technique. And then if you lace it like that, which I'm going to show you in that short, you can tighten the shell really tight so that you don't really need an ankle buckle. Because I think it sits in the way a little bit, and also the aesthetics of it. I like the look of a skate a lot better if there's no ankle buckle. The wheels and the bearings. These are just stock wheels, and they're not the best. You can upgrade them. The bearings in them are really funny. They're also just stock bearings. They're normal bearings, but they say ABEC 11 on it. And that doesn't mean anything, because ABEC is a certain scale, and the scale goes from 1 to 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That's it. There's no 11 on the ABEC scale. So there cannot be an ABEC 11. It's impossible. So having ABEC 11 written on a bearing means that the person who put that on there didn't know anything about ABEC, okay? There is a brand, by the way, called ABEC 11, but then it's a brand name, so then it's a little bit different. But it doesn't really matter, because a bearing is a bearing. They all work, they roll. I think the bearing is probably the least interesting part of this skate. I'm going to tell you a few things that you can do to upgrade this skate, and the bearing is not even one of it, so don't worry about that. The wheels, though, I would upgrade. If you want to go faster, you can put in some rollerblade hydrogen wheels. Those are one of the best wheels. There's a few other brands out there. In general, I think if a wheel in this size, a wheel should cost about like 15 euros or something per wheel. So like 100 euros for the whole package or something like this. If you're in that price range, probably it's a good wheel. That's kind of like the best way to know if a wheel is good, if they're expensive. Sorry, but that's just how the world works. And these wheels are just cheap, basic wheels. They will roll, but if you upgrade them, you'll have the feeling that you have the wind in your back. Another thing to upgrade is, of course, the insole. And the best way to do that is to put in a Superfeet insole. Superfeet insoles keep your heels nice and locked into a nice cup. And they have good arch support. And that's kind of like the position that your foot wants to be in, so that if you move your foot, the skate does what you want it to do. Next thing you can upgrade are the laces. These laces, they will break pretty quickly, and you're not able to tighten the skate as hard as you would be able to do if you have waxed laces. My advice is to get some waxed laces for this. And if you want to have a more comfortable ride, you can put in, of course, an intuition liner. Intuition liners are the best liners on the market. They're so comfortable, and also the power transfer. You feel that you have a lot more control over your skates if you have a good liner, which is not like just so flimsy as this one. The last thing to upgrade is, I would say, the frame. Get some, I would say, in general, as a broad stroke advice, 4x90 frame. That would be the best, or a 4x100 with a rocker. I think those two ones would be the best, way better at least than 3x110, because that's really unstable. My overall review of this skate is that the boot is good, the frame is also good, like the quality-wise, everything is really nice. I don't like the 3x110, but that's a personal choice as well. Probably some people out there like the 3x110. So it's a good price to quality ratio for sure. So that's a good job by Roces. If you want to know more about skates in general, check out our YouTube channel, or on our website, of course, all the reviews are integrated there as well. We make a new video like this every week, so if you like them, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.